So far in the previous tutorials, we took all our BREPs together and created zones out of each BREP. So this time in this tutorial, I'm going to show you a new way of entering construction and defining your own zones using surface by surface components. So instead of entering BREPs with closed BREPs to create zones, we're going to actually define surface by surface, which sometimes is more accurate because you will be able to define where the windows are and what shape your building is. Sometimes your building has a regular shape, and this method might not be the best method. So surface by surface can give you control over the shape of the building, also the control over the construction material of each surface in your building. So this is a better way. I don't want to say better way, but it depends on the situation in your building and what kind of flexibility do you want and control over your building elements. So it depends really what you want to do with your project. So the other way that I want to show you today, it's called surface by surface. So instead of entering a full zone, we're going to enter a wall, by floor, by roof, so each surface at a time. So instead of doing everything here, I'm going to focus on one zone. It's this one zone. Let me turn off my model. So this is only one zone. It was in the top floor. So this is a roof. All right. Let me just ungroup this. I previously grouped them in Rhino, so I'm just gonna ungroup them now. So these surfaces are exploded now. This is not a 1 BREP anymore. So I have a roof. So I took the BREP and I exploded. I tapped the explode command. So I have a roof. I have exterior walls. I have one interior wall here, and one interior wall here. So two exterior, two interior, and the roof, and here is the floor, internal floor. So that's what I have in my zone. So I'm gonna build up this zone using some honeybee components. So if we go to the honeybee tab, the component that we want is called honeybee. Takes a second for me to find it. Honeybee create honeybee surface. It's this one. So this is basically telling Honeybee that I'm going to start creating surfaces and geometry here. So I'm gonna get the internal walls first. So I'm gonna get a BREP here, and I'm going to right click and say set multiple BREPs because I'm gonna get but let me give me okay set multiple BREPs. I'm gonna click that, and then this takes me to Rhino. So I'm gonna choose both of the interior walls since they're gonna have the same function and the same actually this is an exterior wall, so this is just the interior. Let me check. This is an exterior wall and this is an interior wall. Let me turn on my office model one more time, double check. No, both of them are interior. So both of them are interior, so I'm gonna click both of them. So I selected this one and hit enter. So now both of my interior walls in this BREP. And let me rename this to interior wall, interior walls. So you can rename by right clicking and then type here in this cell. So I'm going to connect my BREP to the geometry. I can add the surface name, and sometimes it's helpful when you export the results later, but this is an advanced level. You don't have, for the purpose of our class, you don't really need to change the surface name. But basically, this gives you an identification or a name for your surface. So when you export the results later, you'll be able to know which surface is this surface. It's optional here because it doesn't have an underscore here. That means it's optional input, so you don't have to put an input here. Surface type, this is optional, but I would highly recommend that you put a surface type here. Surface type meaning, is it a wall? You give Honeybee the type of the element that you're importing. So if you hover over here, you get a list. It says 0 for wall, 0.5 for underground wall, 1 for a roof, and so on. So you can really, I highly recommend putting something here. Honeybee is very smart and will recognize what surface is this. But if you have a regular shape in your building, it might not work correctly. So in our case, it's a wall. So I input a 0, I put a panel, I type 0, enter. So that's the panel that has a 0. That tells Honeybee that this is a wall. And then EP construction, what kind of construction you have? Is it a wood stud wall, wood stud wall? Is it metal wall? Whatever construction here is very important, but I'll go into this a little bit later in the video. But for now, I don't have to input something here. So now we're good with creating a surface, and you can see the output here. If I hover, the output here is two surfaces, and let me get you a panel to check this. These are two surfaces together that just plain surfaces. They don't make up a zone. Now let's repeat the same process for the exterior walls. But for the exterior walls, I have two exterior walls with two windows. I need to have them separate, and I'll tell you the reason in a bit. So I need to have here exterior wall 1 and exterior wall 2. Exterior wall 1. And let's repeat this for exterior wall 2. And then here I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna right click, set one BREP, and I'm gonna take this, set one BREP, I'm gonna take this one, and in the other one I'm gonna take the other wall, set one BREP, and I'm gonna take this one. And by the way, I have to mention that the window and the wall are coplanars. That means they are on top of each other. They're sharing the same plane in Rhino. So what I did is I drew the wall, and then using the set C plane to surface, I set my construction plane to that surface, and then I started drawing another surface for the window. So both surfaces have to be coplanar, otherwise you're gonna run into error and your model will not work. So now now we're good with this too, because the surface type here is 0. This is a wall as well. Surface types again here is 0. So now so we did all the walls basically right now. Now let's do the roof and the floor. So we're gonna get two of those. Control C, Control V. One more time, Control C, Control V. We're gonna do one as a roof. Right click, set one BREP, this is your roof. So now we have the roof in place, but surface type here, let's find the roof is 1, so we have to change the 0 to 1. So that's our roof. Now finally this is our internal floor, so that's floor. And floor, if we hover over here, the floor is 2, so we have to change this number to 2. So now we're ready to build our zone, and finally, before we build the zone, we gotta consider the windows as well. So we have to add the windows. To add the windows, there is a component here in Honeybee It is you can add it the traditional way. I showed you guys in the second tutorial, I think, where I showed you the glazing by ratio. You can add them like this, but since we have a surface here for the window, I want to exactly have the surface in the same placement here. So we can do this using a honeybee add the glazing, this one. And honeybee add glazing takes a parent surface and the child surface. You're going to hear this term in energy modeling. A parent surface is the host surface, which in this case is our wall. So let's go to the walls with windows. They are this one. So that's our, let me expand this view so you can see. This is our exterior wall one, which has a window. And if I click on it, you'll be able to see it here in green. So this is our host surface, which we call it parent surface. The child surface in this case is my window surface, and you right click here and add a B-rib for your window. Right click, set B-rib, this one, and this will be our child surface. You can add a name for it. You also can add material for your glazing, but I'll go into materials later. And then you don't have to worry about this is for daylighting. We're gonna do this later in another tutorial. So now that's ready. You can check right now what you have. Here's a surface, a full surface here. This is, if I click on it, it's in green. It's a full surface with the window. That's your wall with the window. So now we're gonna repeat the same process for the other window or the other external wall, which is this one. Right click, set B-rib will be this. Oops, I chose the wrong B-rib. And you see we got an error right away. So set one B-rib, we should, oops, one more time. Oh yeah. Okay, so this is it. Oops, I connected to README, that's the reason. So this is our surface. It's the parent surface, which is this one. This one. Let me double check. Yes. And this is our child surface. And now we created a full surface of honeybee that has a wall and a window together. Now to assemble our zone, our complete zone, we do use this component, which is, it takes me a while to find it. Sorry guys, but I promise I will find it. Honeybee, create honey's bee zone. And this basically takes all the surfaces that I created and we can put a name for it. And we can add the zone program like I showed you in the last tutorial. So our surfaces in this case are this one, this one, and now we do not take the surface, we take the surface with the glazing, which will be this one. You hold shift, hold down shift, keep holding shift, and the last one will be last two here, the floor and the roof, this one and this one. So now that's a zone, and you should get something's not right here. Let me double check what I did. Let me add a name first. Let me check if the error, because I put two walls in one component, but let's check. I'm gonna put a name, zone, I'll call it test zone. Let's see if we get something out of here. Must make a closed volume, and it's actually closed volume. Let me double check. Oh, the floor is not set up correctly. Yes, the floor is not set up correctly, so set one brep, we set up the floor, and let's see if this solves the problem. Set one brep. Okay, yeah, that's, I guess, yeah, that solves the problem, and you should have a message here that says closed brep, as you can see. That means your zone is basically. So now that we have the zone working, we can actually plug this in with our old model here. But remember, if you remember, let me turn on the BREPs here. Remember, we had all 18 zones, so we're gonna delete this zone so we don't duplicate it because we already have created it here, and I'm gonna plug it into our old workflow here that you guys worked on for homework, for the last two homeworks. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to turn on my office model, and I'm going to choose, I'm going to clear all the BREPs here, and I'm going to choose all the BREPs but this one, okay? So I'm going to select all of these. So I selected all of them. So now I have 17 zones instead of 18. And oops, I have 17 zones. Oops, I cannot get my apology. I don't know, my computer is acting up when I click things now. So now I have 17 zones, and you see where we connected all our zones here to our simulation, right? We can basically add this zone to them, to the simulation where it says honeybee zones here. I can connect this, the zone that I just created, to that input. So I'll get it closer here so you can see. So that zone that we created, hold shift and connect it. Another thing that you can do, instead of connecting it here, if you want to preview and go through all this process like we did, you can basically also connect with, let me see, yes, you can just, there's simple ways to connect it here, but if you also want to preview it with the rest of the zones, you can also connect it in here as well, and click shift. So that's how you do things like this. You can also create the whole building surface by surface like this. This gives you more control on your construction material and on surface names and other things like this. This might be doable for small buildings that you have. Actually, for our homework, if you have the time to create surface by surface, it's good for small projects. But if I give you a large project, this might be a little bit difficult to deal with. So I'll show you also how to assign materials to individual surfaces, but also to the whole model that we built before using closed BREPs like this. So I'm gonna show you both ways, and then when I assign the final project, it's your call to use either the zone by zone or masses to zone, this one, master zone, or the surface by surface. So let's talk about materials in construction materials and how to change the materials for your building. So you noticed here the input EP construction, and that stands for energy plus construction. And this is very important so you can understand how your energy model works. You have to understand your material, the material that you put in your building. Of course, they have great impact on the results that you're going to have in your energy model. Buildings, building elements have different R values, different installations and R values, and some of them are suitable for specific climate zones, but not for other climate zones. So you really have to understand what you're inputting there. And I want to show you, let's take that zone, for example, the zone that we just built. I want to show you, let me turn off the preview first on that whole thing here. And I'm going to turn off also my Rhino model, so I only have that zone that we just built surface by surface, right? So I have that zone. What I'm going to do is I'm also going to turn off all the previews here as well. And these previews, a lot of things that we have to turn off, and this one preview off. Basically also I'm going to turn off my Rhino model as well. But if you remember on tutorial 2, I showed you, I think tutorial 1 or 2, I showed you a component that gives you the attributes of your surfaces. So it's called Honeybee Zone Attribute List. No, oops. Not this one. Let me get it from here. It's Honeybee. Honeybee surface. Honeybee labels zone surfaces. This one. So what it does, it takes Honeybee objects and it gives us a surface. It gives us some attributes that I'm going to show you how to change these attributes later. But let's take the whole zone first. Let's look at the whole zone. So this is our zone, right? This is the attribute. I think this is identification number. So we're gonna get, I want to show you the construction material for each element here. To change the attribute here, you get another component that's called Honeybee Surface Attribute List, this one. And this one, I want to show you energy plus construction. So you can see this is, so far, that's what you have. These are the default construction materials that you have right now in your building. So that's an exterior wall. You have something called exterior wall. You have exterior roof, and you have a floor. So that's what you have so far. So this is the construction material that you have so far. But to look at all the construction material that's available in Honeybee, this is they have in Honeybee there is a great library of materials, and you can see this is it, Honeybee Energy Plus construction. No, not this one. I'll show you how to look at the yeah, this one. And this is the component that I clicked, Honeybee call from EP construction library. So if you connect keywords here, let's say I want to see what the exterior wall is, or anything that is exterior. Basically, let's type exterior or just text. Oops, my bad. I meant to put a panel. And I put this. I can read the EP construction, and let me show you. You will get a big list of materials that why this can't resize. Big list of materials that have the word external. So this is external wall metal, external wall wood frame, external window. So all the material that have the word X is here. So, and you can see there is different types of standards. ASHRAE 189.1. We talked about this in class, and the ASHRAE 90.1. And I think other also standards that are here, CPEX and other things here available. We will work for this class with ASHRAE 90.1, so that's what we're going to use. And you can see also after the name of the external or material, it shows also climate zone 2 or a climate zone and then a number, climate zone 6. If you remember, we talked about the ASHRAE map or the ASHRAE zone. And if you Google ASHRAE zones, Google Images, go to Google Images and click ASHRAE map or ASHRAE zone map. You will look at the United States split in a couple of in a few zones. What ASHRAE did, it basically recommends the specific types of walls for each individual climate zone. So these are my energy plus construction library. I can search things like maybe I want to see walls, so all the walls. So I want to search something that has the word wall in it. So you end up with a list of material that have the word walls. I can search something, maybe I want to see something that relates to floors. So I want to type floor, and you'll get also materials, and again with the standard and recommendation for the climate. This is attic floor, this is semi-heated floor, and so on. External roof, attic floor. So all these are available for you to look at. You want to do more refined research, let's say by zone, ASHRAE zone. So let's say we are in zone, we are in Texas. I think Texas is zone 2 in Houston. What we're analyzing here is Houston. And if you want to know the zone of your if you don't have the map for any reason, you can know the zone by analyzing your weather file. So let's go to the weather file that we have. Here's the weather file. Remember the weather file that we used earlier? A stat file. So if I go to Ladybug, there's a component that's called import stat file, Ladybug import stat, this one. If I connect stat file to here, right? It gives me the ASHRAE climate zone, and if I connect this is we are in zone 2A. So let me show you how to filter things. So I want to filter a wall for zone 2A to see what the recommendation is, and probably also for ASHRAE. There is a component here, if you go to Ladybug to do more refined search in your Energy Plus library, you go to Honeybee, and there's a component that is called, let me see, I think it's this one. Let's check. Yes, it's this one. So what you do, I already typed wall, so I find my wall list. So this is my wall list. For standards, I want ASHRAE 90.1. So if I hover here, it gives me ASHRAE 90.1. I have to type 0 for it. So 0 indicates that I have ASHRAE 0.9, or I'm searching ASHRAE 0.1. I'm sorry, 90.1. And then climate zone, our climate zone is 2A, and if you hover here, it shows optional input. This is optional, but I'm going to type 2 because we are in climate zone 2. And now we can see a list of walls that are recommended by the standard ASHRAE 90.1 for climate zone 2. We did not put wall. We put floor. Let's get walls. these are the list of walls recommended by ASHRAE for our ASHRAE 90.1 for our, I don't know why this is not expanding for me. So you can see this is external wall for climate zone 1 to 2, metal, steel frame, wood frame. Residential will basically be the wood frame one, and this is for climate zone 1 to 7, okay? So this is how you do more refined research using this component. But let's say I want, okay, I have the wood frame, but I want to look what's inside the wood frame, what's the R value for the wood frame. If you want to look closely into this material, you can basically decompose that material, and you do this by using the Honeybee decomposed material, and we can use the item selector that I showed you before. Selector, let me type item selector. The item selector, if I click here, I get this, basically this list. I am going to choose the wood frame. This is really big selector. Let me delete this panel. So now I choose the wood frame, right? And here's our component, the decompose AP construction. I select this, and it will show you different information about our construction. It shows that this has wood siding, it has wood frame, it has insulation and gypsum boards. And then you can get the U value, you can get the R value, and this is basically metric and imperial. So this is, if you hover over here, it shows you this is the U value for the metric system, and this is watt per square meter, and this is different. This is the imperial system, and you can basically have the R value also for the metric system and the imperial system. So you get all this information just by searching material, and then we did some filter. You don't need the filter if you know what material you need to search. You basically put the name for that material here, and then basically use the decompose material, and then you'll be able to get some information. So now I can take some of this material. So let's say I want to assign some of my walls here to be wood frame. So I can do this and assign this to be, this is the interior wall. I want to assign this as a wood frame. So that's how we do it. That's how we assign different construction. And basically, you call things again from the library, and you can you don't have to really decompose them. I showed you the decompose component to read the R value and these things, but basically you search and filter your search, and then put an item selector, select your material, and assign it to your surfaces. Now, let's say I want to assign material to the old method that we used. Do you remember the old method? We had zones, not surface by surface. There is a component that lets you really assign all these things quickly. So that component is here. If I go here, that component, no, not here. This one, yeah, in panel 8. It's somewhere here. I think it's, yes, this one, Honeybee set EP zone construction, this one. And what it lets you do is all your zones from the old tutorial. Let's go close to the zones. I can show you. So this is all our zones. If you remember, we had this output. You put all your zones here. And then you assign materials for walls, and again using the method that I showed you, call from the library, and you assign your materials here for walls, window, roof, and so on. And then you get a modified zone with all the material. That modified zone is the zone that you connect to your energy simulation, this component, the energy simulation component here, the HP zones.